Heal Heart. Chapter 3. Not Destined. Keys time. As there's something serious that I don't know yet. I don't understand my grandfather's body language right now. I have to say that I have never seen him in such a humble mode since I was born. I noticed that his expression was not good. He avoided my eyes and looked so weak that I had to support him. But that Mr. 3, who was talking to my grandfather in a calm but powerful tone, even though his expression was indifferent. Don't worry, let's just do whatever you can do. At least Dad will be able to wear a suit from the shop. That Grandpa loves the most when he leaves the hospital for the last time. I repeated the words in my mind, thinking that his words were strange and my grandfather's expression was equally strange. You are saying that you can't do it anymore? Not exactly, but we don't have much time. Then how many days do I have? Grandfather asked in a trembling voice, from staggering until I had to support him. Grandfather collapsed even more until I had to bring him a chair to sit on. I saw my grandfather's legs shaking, and the hands that were holding my arms shaking with sweat. I could only remain silent. I need it urgently. No later than tomorrow night. Can I have someone come and get the clothes? Okay, I'll try it. I'm sorry to bother you. I really want my dad to wear the hospital discharge date. I secretly looked at his face and saw that his eyes were lowered and there were tears in them. His hands were shaking a little, but they returned to normal in a moment. If we're lucky, we might be able to buy some more time. I want to get that matter settled first. Sir, I promise I'll do it best. My grandfather sighed heavily and quickly got up, let go of my arm, and turned to go inside. But it seemed like his legs, which were not very good, could not walk straight. Suddenly, he collapsed as if he had no strength left. The two of us were able to support grandfather on one side in time. The two of us. I mean, the broker and I nodded at each other without prior arrangement. He used more strength to support my grandfather to sit in his usual reclining chair, and then used grandfather's old fan that was placed on the table in front of a television to him skillfully. Do you have any aromatic medicine? 3 said. I think and ask him, what do you want? Can you see that your grandfather is fainting? Of course, what should I get? My grandfather has everything, aromatic medicine, elixir, inhaler, balm. Oh, my grandfather uses it all the time. The elixir branded with the name of Dr. Ong at the end of the market. I repeated the words while thinking, then nodded. Wait a minute, sir, I'll leave it with my grandfather first. Hurry up, he nodded. No, you don't need it, Key. My grandfather grabbed my wrist, but he nodded, so I slapped his hand away. Wait a minute, I'll be right back. But I'm afraid of disturbing Mr. 3, my grandfather replied in a husky voice, as if he was having trouble breathing. It's okay, he replied shortly, his tone much gentler than when he was talking to me. But I didn't care. I rushed to the kitchen, grabbed my grandfather's old bottle of aromatic medicine, and poured about a quarter of a glass into it. Then poured warm water into the kettle. The pour-men melted together and immediately ran to give it to my grandfather. Open your mouth and take a sip. The water is a bit warm, but I don't think it's hot enough for him to drink. I helped Grandpa up a bit and put the glass to his trembling, wilted lips. But it seemed that the person looking at him didn't like it, probably because of my awkwardness. Because he was shocked. How do you take care of an old person? Give me this. I'll do it myself. Oh. Suddenly, he snatched the glass from my hand and fed it to my grandfather with an indifferent face. I was irritated, but looking at what he did, why was he so gentle? The water is a bit warm, take it slowly. He consoled me and raised the glass to his lips, allowing my grandfather to slowly take a sip of the inhaler as he instructed. I could only watch. When finished, he gave me a fierce look that startled me. You put it away. Okay, then take it. He handed me the glass. I am thinking, why is this person so gentle? I take back my words. He was gentle with my grandfather, but he spoke sarcastically to me. But never mind. At least the face that looked as thick as cement instead of beautiful like sculpture seemed to have a little smile when listening to my grandfather's words of thanks. My grandfather sat down to rest for a while and felt better. The calm-faced man asked to leave. I supported my grandfather and walked him to say goodbye. He glanced at me with his sharp eyes and then opened the door and got into the back of the long car. Then he leaned out and said to my grandfather, "I'm afraid of hurting you. If I can't do it, I don't want to rush him that much, it's okay. I can do it." "Are you sure you can do it?" "I can do it. And doing it for my benefactor. Tomorrow night, he'll have Keeta deliver it to you at the hospital right after it's done." "Okay," he answered my grandfather and handed his business card to me. "When you get to the hospital tomorrow, you can call me." "Faye," I replied shortly, too lazy to chat. Just as I was about to grab the business card from his hand, he snatched it back in front of me. "Warehouse, sir," Peek respectfully. "Why would I say that? I'm not your subordinate, so why do I have to speak so nicely? I'm not your father. I don't want to be a father, but I want to be." My body went numb because of the last words he whispered in my ear. My face went numb. It's a good thing my grandfather didn't hear it. "Oh, shit. You want to be my husband?" "What kind of husband? He dared to insult me at my house like this. What do you mean?" I gritted my teeth and whispered, "Whatever you think." He sneered and closed the car door and got into the back seat with his head held high. I forgot myself and yanked the door that was about to close and shouted, "Tell me, how dare you talk to me like that? Your reckless behavior doesn't match your appearance. Hey, you're tricking me into insulting me again. I was just talking about your personality. I didn't say anything about you, kid." "You kid again." I almost screamed after he raised his eyebrows at me. All the things he said about being handsome, perfect, agreed God, I'll take them all back. I'll assume that I didn't say anything. I really shouldn't look at him in a good way, come on. Pete, when adults teach you, it's considered that adults like you. My grandfather didn't just interrupt him. Pete, Grandpa dragged out his tone to reprimand me. I could only pout in displeasure. "Okay," just like that, he handed me his business card and smiled at me with the corner of his mouth, which was really annoying. What kind of an adult is this? I thought of the sharp face of the person who was glancing at me again. And knowingly holding back, I saw that my grandfather was not well, but he still used the old man. I understand it, but I couldn't help but think because I was worried about my grandfather, afraid that he would overdo it. How could I resist my grandfather's stubbornness? It must be because the word gratitude was stuck in my throat. His long car moved forward a little after being honked at by the car following behind in the alley. He turned to give a mischievous smile and pursed his lips before leaving. I read his lips teasing me as a little kid and was extremely irritated. "I'll leave it for now. Let's go home, Grandpa." "Let's go," Grandpa replied in a low voice, his eyes still following the car as if he was full of longing. I don't know what their relationship is with my grandfather. It must be something from the past. I heard that Grandpa got this shop because of a benefactor. It must be that guy's father. I helped Grandfather, who suddenly wobbled again. Grandfather looked up at me with an extremely worried look in his eyes. He extended a trembling hand for me to help him into the house. "I will check his size with the old pattern first. Go find his pattern for me." "What is his name?" "Mr. Kachicharon Sirikul, look in the red bag, the letters." "Hey, that my separated, this red bag is from 2018. It's that old. Are you still keeping it?" "Of course I keep it. It's something from a benefactor who's, we have to keep it for decade." "What kind of favor do they have with us?" I tried to guess what Grandpa would say. But as usual, Grandpa didn't say a word and changed the subject instead. "Hurry up, time waits for nothing. If you delay for a second, you might not be able to fix it for the rest of your life." "Pete, okay, Grandpa, wait a moment, I'll go find it for you." I hurried to the metal shelf behind the house where grandfather used to store his customers' patterns. When grandpa's business was booming, he had many employees who cut and sewed fabrics. The work was quite systematic. However, a few years ago, before COVID, the business slowed down. Probably because people spent less and turned to ready-made clothes that were available on various online websites. Now, it's left to my grandfather to do it all alone, with me as his helper who isn't very good. I hope that one day I'll find a good job. Then I'll ask my grandfather to stop working at the shop and take a break. Have you got it yet? Key. Nests. I promised my grandfather without thinking about anything. By the time I found my grandfather, he was walking towards me. Be more determined when you do something. I was looking, but I found it. Word and went straight to the large desk in the corner of the room. He ironed the pattern on the old, worn-out iron and worked hard on it. I could only look because I couldn't help. I feel so bad. I remembered something and pulled out my business card from my pocket to look at it. And I had to make a face of annoyance. Threekacha on Siri Group. What a nice name. Threekacha, Mr. Three Elephants. I couldn't get his name out of my head. Why do I have to remember his name like I've heard it somewhere? What did you say with him again? No, Grandpa, I haven't said anything yet. I denied it but crossed my index and middle fingers behind my back. I didn't just gossip a little on the media, but I went sip a lot in my mind. Who told him to make me feel annoyed? I didn't want Grandpa to ask anymore, so I avoided the room. But that guy was still on my mind, no matter how much I tried to shake it off. What was this familiar feeling?